This week, I want to talk about what it means to be the church. I'm Rachael Keefe, and this is Monday's Muse. This definition of be the church comes from the United Church of Christ, and I find it extremely helpful. It says, protect the environment, care for the poor, embrace diversity, reject racism, forgive often, love God, fight for the powerless, share earthly and spiritual resources, enjoy this life. I want to focus on protect the environment, reject racism, and fight for the powerless, and how this is being the church. In the past few weeks, the people we call pipeline protesters gathered in great number in North Dakota. They refer to themselves as water protectors. Their water, their land, creation's waters, creation's land. And if we take being the church seriously, then we should have gathered with them. Being the church means protecting the environment. It also means rejecting racism, because that is a part of what was at play when that pipeline was scheduled to go through reservation lands. And it means fighting for the powerless. Who in this country is more powerless than First Nations people? And while this was all happening, the movement of athletes sitting down or kneeling for the national anthem also started, where people say how despicable it is that these people are not showing respect for the country that pays them to be these superstar athletes. And I find that to be a very racist response, because we are focusing on the action and not on the reason for action. What I found out in doing my own research is that the national anthem, written by Francis Scott Key, is a racist poem. We sing the first two stanzas, which sound reasonably okay, but now think about the fact that Francis Scott Key was an anti-abolitionist. He was against ending slavery, which is one step more than being pro-slavery. There is a line in the third stanza that I find particularly horrific. No refuge could save the hireling and slave from the terror of flight or the gloom of the grave, and the star-spangled banner in triumph doth wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave. No refuge could save the slave from the terror of flight or the gloom of the grave. Nothing could save a slave from death. That is such a racist statement. Do we want this to be part of our national anthem? I don't think we do. And I don't think there's anything wrong with sitting out the national anthem to call attention to the racism that exists in our country today. And if we are to be the church, we should stop complaining about the protest methodology and look at what the protesters are pointing toward. They are pointing towards systemic racism, which impacts everyone's life, every day, all the time. Being the church means fighting for the powerless. And people of color are often powerless in this country. Francis Scott Key was not thinking about Black folks when he wrote The Land of the Free. We shouldn't be singing that song or complaining about people protesting injustice. We should be standing with protesters, adding our voices and our actions to the call for justice for all people. Be the church. Fight for the powerless. Reject racism. Protect the environment. What are you doing to be the church? Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week.